The Vatican is on the brink of an earthquake. For the first time in history, the conclave is split between two titans: Parolin, the iron-fisted Italian guardian of tradition, and Tagle, the electrifying Asian force for change. This isn't just a papal election, it's a global battle for the soul of the Catholic Church. The outcome will shatter centuries of power, redraw alliances, and redefine what it means to be Catholic in the 21st century. Will it be a church rooted in the traditions of Rome, guided by the steady hand of Parolin? Or will it embrace the winds of change blowing from the east with Tagle at the helm? The days leading up to the conclave are filled with quiet conversations in shadowy corridors, whispered prayers in candlelit chapels, and the ever-present hum of anticipation. The cardinals know that their choice will echo through history. They see in Parolin a steady hand, a bridge between past and future, and a compromise figure who can maintain unity among cardinals from vastly different backgrounds. Yet the vision of renewal and global outreach, championed by Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, has not faded. Tagle's charisma, pastoral warmth, and connection to the growing church in Asia and the global south have inspired many. His supporters believe he can continue the spirit of Pope Francis' openness, compassion, and a focus on the poor and marginalized. Tagle's election would signal a bold step into the future, a church that truly reflects its global flock. The voting continues, and the rules grow stricter as the rounds progress. If after several cycles no candidate achieves the required two-thirds majority, 89 votes, the cardinals pause for prayer and reflection. After 7 more ballots without a result, the process narrows to the 2 leading candidates, who are then excluded from voting in the final rounds. The pressure is immense. Every cardinal knows the world is waiting, and the Church's future hangs in the balance. Finally, the moment arrives. The ballots are cast, counted, and at last, a name surpasses the threshold. The scrutineers announce the result in hushed tones. The ballots are burned, and this time the smoke that rises from the Sistine Chapel's chimney is unmistakably white. A wave of emotion sweeps over St. Peter's Square as the news spreads. The Church has a new pope. Inside, the chosen cardinal is led to the Room of Tears, where he dons the white cassock for the first time. He is asked the solemn question, "Do you accept your canonical election as Supreme Pontiff?" Upon his acceptance, he chooses a papal name symbolizing the new mission entrusted to him. The cardinals pledge their obedience, and prayers are offered for the new Holy Father. Outside, the world holds its breath as the senior cardinal deacon steps onto the balcony and proclaims, "Habemus Papam." We have a pope. The new pontiff appears, greeted by the thunderous applause of the faithful and the curious alike. He offers his first blessing, Urbi et Orbi, to the city and to the world, marking the beginning of a new chapter for the Catholic Church. Whether it is Parolin, the guardian of tradition, or Tagle, the herald of renewal, the conclave's decision will shape the Church for years to come. The process, shrouded in secrecy and prayer, has once again delivered a leader to guide the world's largest Christian community through the joys and challenges of a new era. The white smoke drifts above the Vatican, and a new dawn breaks for the Church. Part 9. Behind the Curtain. Alliances, doubts, and the final struggle. As the world holds its breath, the conclave intensifies behind the impenetrable walls of the Sistine Chapel. The process is a blend of ancient ritual and modern tension. 133 cardinal electors, each sworn to secrecy under penalty of excommunication, gather for up to 4 ballots a day, their handwritten votes carrying the hopes and anxieties of a global church. The rules are strict. A 2/3 majority, or 89 votes, is needed to elect the next pope. If no one is chosen after 3 days, The cardinals pause for prayer and reflection before resuming. And if deadlock persists, the process narrows to a runoff between the two front-runners. This conclave is more secretive and secure than ever. The Vatican deploys high-tech countermeasures, electronic jamming, physical sweeps for bugs, and even satellite monitoring to ensure that no word escapes the chapel's sacred silence. The world outside sees only the color of the smoke, black for indecision, white for a new era. Inside, the atmosphere is charged with uncertainty. While the media and betting markets have focused on Parolin and Tagle as the favorites, the reality is far more complex. Many cardinals remain undecided and informal alliances shift with each ballot. Some seek the comfort of the familiar, remembering the wisdom of the saints and the unbroken line of tradition that stretches back to Peter himself. Others are drawn to the promise of renewal, hoping for a pope who will speak to the challenges of a rapidly changing world. Yet beneath the surface, there is a deeper current, a sense of mystery that has always surrounded the election of a pope. For all the politics and debate, the conclave is at its heart, a spiritual drama. Some are wary of the scandals that have haunted the Church in recent years and scrutinize every candidate's background, searching for a leader who can restore trust and credibility. Parolin. The Italian Secretary of State is seen as a bridge between moderates and liberals, but he is also a point of contention for some conservatives who question whether the papacy should return home to Europe or continue Francis's global vision. Tagle, the charismatic Filipino, represents the energy and growth of the Church in Asia and the global South, but faces skepticism from traditionalists and those who question whether his style and vision can unite such a diverse body. The cardinals' deliberations are more than a contest of personalities. They are a struggle over the soul and direction of the Church. Some blocs form along national and ideological lines. Italian and European cardinals, Asian and African alliances, and even American and Latin American groups, each with their own priorities and concerns. Some cardinals are drawn to Parolin's steady hand and deep roots in Vatican tradition, seeing him as the candidate of continuity and stability. Others are inspired by Tagle's pastoral warmth and global outlook, hoping for a church that listens and adapts to a changing world. Yet, as the ballots are counted and recounted, doubts linger. Neither Parolin nor Tagle has fully locked up an early victory. Smaller groups rally behind other names and rumors swirl of dark horse candidates who could emerge if the stalemate continues. The pressure mounts as the days pass. Every cardinal knows that the world is watching, and that the next pope will set the course for Catholicism in an era of crisis and opportunity. In this final struggle, the cardinals are not just choosing a leader, they are searching for unity in the face of division, for hope after years of scandal and uncertainty. The alliances, doubts, and prayers that fill the Sistine Chapel will soon give way to a single moment of decision, when the white smoke rises and the world learns the name of the new shepherd. The conclave endures its drama hidden, but its outcome destined to echo for generations. Part 10. A New Shepherd. The world meets its pope. As the final ballots are cast and the sacred silence of the Sistine Chapel deepens, centuries of tradition and the prayers of 1.4 billion Catholics converge on a single electrifying moment. The cardinals, 133 men from 71 nations, have spent days locked in discernment debate and P-Rayer wrestling with the legacy of Pope Francis and the future of a church more global and diverse than ever before. Outside St. Peter's Square is a sea of faces and flickering candles. The world's media stand ready, eyes fixed on the slender chimney atop the chapel. Pilgrims and Romans, old and young, pressed together, hearts pounding with anticipation. The Vatican's pyrotechnicians, having tested the holy smoke system, are prepared for the signal that will send news around the globe in an instant. Inside the final vote is counted, the scrutineers' hands trembling with the weight of history. Tally the slips. At last, a name crosses the threshold. The required 2/3 majority has been reached. The ballots are bound and placed in the stove. This time, the smoke that curls into the Roman sky is unmistakably white. A roar erupts from the square. Bells peal across the city. In that moment, division and uncertainty give way to awe and unity. The world knows Habemus, Papam, we have a pope. Within the chapel, the chosen cardinal, whether Parolin, the steady Italian guardian of tradition, or Tagle, the radiant voice of modern Asia, is led to the room of tears. Here, he dons the white cassock symbol of both honor and burden. He is asked, "Do you accept your canonical election as Supreme Pontiff?" With trembling voice, he accepts choosing a papal name that signals his vision for the Church's future. The cardinals kneel, pledging obedience. Prayers rise for the new Holy Father, who now stands as Peter's successor, inheritor of both the Church's ancient legacy and its daunting challenges. Outside, the senior cardinal deacon steps onto the balcony. The crowd hushes as he proclaims, "Annuntio vobis gaudium magnum habemus papam." The new pope steps forward, greeted by a tidal wave of applause and tears. He raises his hand in blessing, offering the Urbi et Orbi to the city and to the world. The cardinals are not just electing a leader. They are seeking the will of God. In the Sistine Chapel, beneath Michelangelo's Last Judgment, they will pray for guidance, trusting that the Holy Spirit will move among them. As the sun sets on the eve of the conclave, the city is bathed in golden light. Pilgrims gather in St. Peter's Square, their faces illuminated by candles and hope. The world watches, waiting for the smoke that will signal the birth of a new era. In this instant, centuries of ritual and faith are made new. Whether the Church has chosen Parolin, reaffirming its roots and unity, or Tagle, signaling a bold embrace of the global South, the message is clear. The Catholic Church endures, renewed through tradition and open to the future. As night falls over Rome, hope flickers in every corner of the world. The conclave's secrecy gives way to the light of a new era. The Church, guided by its new shepherd, prepares to walk forward, united, challenged, and ever faithful. Inside the Vatican, the cardinals prepare to surrender themselves to the ancient ritual, knowing that the decision they make will shape the soul of the Church for generations. In this silence before the storm breaks, the fate of Catholicism hangs in the balance. The conclave is more than a vote. It is a moment of destiny, and as the doors of the Sistine Chapel swing shut, the world holds its breath, waiting to see who will emerge as the next shepherd of God's people. Parolin, the guardian of tradition, or Tagle, the herald of change. Part 2, Shadows and Secrets. The conclave prepares. As the city of Rome slips into the quiet of night, the Vatican becomes a place of shadows and secrets. The great bronze doors of the Apostolic Palace are closed to the outside world. Within, the College of Cardinals moves with a sense of purpose and gravity, their red robes flowing like rivers of blood through marble corridors. Each cardinal knows that the days ahead will test not only their faith, but their courage and conviction. The conclave is a ritual as old as the stones of St. Peter's itself. For centuries, it has been shrouded in mystery, its rules and ceremonies carefully preserved. No phones, no contact with the outside world, no distractions from the sacred task at hand. The cardinals are cut off from everything but their prayers, their thoughts, and the presence of their brothers. The world outside can only wait and wonder. In the days before the conclave, the cardinals gather for what are called general congregations. These are meetings where they discuss the state of the Church, share their concerns, and listen to one another. It is here in these hushed assemblies that alliances are formed and rivalries emerge. Some cardinals speak with the authority of age and experience, others with the fire of youth and vision. All are aware that every word, every gesture may shape the outcome of the vote. Pietro Parolin moves among them with quiet confidence. He is a man who listens more than he speaks, his eyes taking in every detail. For years, he has been the Vatican's chief diplomat, negotiating with presidents and princes, guiding the Church through storms both internal and external. Parolin's supporters admire his steadiness, his deep knowledge of the Church's traditions, and his skill at building consensus. They see in him a leader who can preserve the unity of the Church in a time of uncertainty. Yet there are those who whisper that Parolin is too much a man of the institution, too cautious, too tied to the old ways. They remember the scandals that have rocked the Vatican in recent years, the financial mismanagement, the secrets and lies. Some wonder if Parolin, for all his wisdom, can truly bring the renewal that so many desire. Luis Antonio Tagle, by contrast, is a figure of energy and enthusiasm. Wherever he goes, he is greeted with smiles and open arms. If you think this is just another Vatican ritual, you're dead wrong. The future of over 1 billion believers hangs in the balance, and the world is watching every move. Subscribe now and drop your thoughts below. Who do you think should lead the Church into a new era? Part 1. The silence before the storm. The bells of St. Peter's Basilica toll, with a mournful resonance echoing through the ancient streets of Rome. Tagle's supporters speak of his humility, his ability to connect with ordinary people, his vision of a Church that is open, compassionate, and engaged with the world. In the halls of the Vatican, his laughter is infectious, his optimism a breath of fresh air. But Tagle, too, has his critics. Some cardinals worry that he is too inexperienced, too willing to embrace change at the expense of tradition. They fear that his style, so well suited to the vibrant churches of Asia, may not translate to the weighty responsibilities of the papacy. There are murmurs that Tagle's vision, while inspiring, lacks the firmness needed to guide the Church through troubled waters. As the cardinals prepare to enter the conclave, the city outside is alive with speculation. Journalists from every corner of the globe crowd the streets, their cameras trained on the Vatican's windows. The faithful gather in churches, lighting candles and praying for wisdom. In homes and cafes, Catholics debate the merits of Parolin and Tagle, each convinced that their candidate is the one chosen by Providence. Inside the Vatican, the atmosphere is thick with anticipation. The cardinals are assigned their rooms in the Domus Sanctae Marthi, a simple guest house within the Vatican walls. Here, they will eat, sleep, and pray until the new pope is chosen. Each cardinal is given a small cell furnished with a bed, a desk, and a crucifix. There is no luxury, no distraction, only the silence of waiting. On the morning of the conclave, the cardinals dress in their scarlet robes and process in solemn silence to the Sistine Chapel. The air is heavy with incense and expectation. Michelangelo's frescoes loom above them, a reminder of the weight of history and the gaze of eternity. The doors are closed and locked, and the outside world falls away. The rituals of the conclave are ancient and unchanging. The cardinals take an oath of secrecy, swearing before God and one another to keep the proceedings hidden from all outsiders. They pray for the guidance of the Holy Spirit, invoking the wisdom of the saints and the courage of the martyrs. Each cardinal is given a ballot, on which he will write the name of the man he believes should be Pope. The first vote is cast in silence. Each cardinal approaches the altar, places his ballot in the chalice, and bows his head in prayer. The ballots are counted and burned, their smoke rising through the chapel's chimney. If no candidate receives the required 2/3 majority, the process begins again. Outside, the world waits for the signal: black smoke for no decision, white smoke for a new pope. Each puff of smoke is watched by millions, their hopes and fears rising with it. Within the chapel, the tension grows with each round of voting. Parolin's supporters argue that only a man of tradition can heal the divisions within the Church. They speak of the need for stability for a leader who understands the complexities of the Vatican and the demands of the modern world. They point to Parolin's record as a diplomat, his deep faith and his commitment to the teachings of the Church. Tagle's supporters counter with passion and conviction. They argue that the Church must change or risk becoming irrelevant. They speak of the need for compassion for a pope who will listen to the cries of the poor and the marginalized. They point to Tagle's charisma, his connection to the youth, and his vision of a church that is truly global. As the votes are counted and recounted, the cardinals feel the weight of their decision. Some are torn between loyalty to tradition and the call for renewal. Others are convinced that only their candidate can lead the Church into the future. The debates are intense, but always marked by a sense of reverence and humility. In the quiet moments between votes, the cardinals pray. They ask for wisdom, for courage, for the strength to set aside personal ambition and seek only the will of God. The silence of the chapel is broken only by the rustle of robes and the soft murmur of prayer. Outside, the world grows restless. The faithful gather in St. Peter's Square, their eyes fixed on the chimney. The journalists speculate, the pundits predict, but no one knows what is happening within the walls of the Vatican. As the day draws to a close, the cardinals return to their rooms exhausted but resolute. They know that the decision they make will shape the Church for generations. In the darkness of their cells, they pray for guidance, for the light to see the path ahead. The conclave is a time of shadows and secrets of hope and fear. The world stands still, holding its breath. As the news spreads, Pope Francis the Shepherd of over 1 billion souls has passed away. The Vatican, usually bustling with pilgrims and priests, is now shrouded in a solemn hush, the kind that only comes before a storm. The white and gold banners hang limp in the spring air, and the eyes of the faithful, from the grand cathedrals of Europe to the humble chapels of Asia, turn toward the eternal city. It is a moment when the Church stands between the past and the future, between tradition and change. And as the cardinals prepare for another day of voting, the world waits, holding its breath for the smoke that will signal the dawn of a new era. Part 3. The Gathering of Cardinals. The world holds its breath. The dawn of May 7, 2025, breaks over Rome with a sense of anticipation that is almost tangible. The city, ancient and eternal, awakens to the sound of church bells and the distant murmur of pilgrims streaming toward the Vatican. For days, the world's attention has been fixed on this small enclave where history is about to turn another page. The death of Pope Francis has left a void, not only in the hearts of 1.4 billion Catholics, but also in the spiritual landscape of the world. Now, all eyes are on the conclave, a sacred drama about to unfold behind the closed doors of the Sistine Chapel. In the heart of Vatican City, the Domus Sanctae, Martha is alive with quiet activity. All 133 cardinal electors representing 71 countries have arrived in Rome. Their faces reflect the diversity and complexity of the modern church men of every color and language, from bustling metropolises and remote villages, from the old strongholds of Europe to the rising communities of Africa and Asia. The corridors hum with whispered greetings and silent prayers. Each cardinal carries with him the hopes and anxieties of his people, the burdens of his own conscience, and the awareness that the decision soon to be made will shape the fate of Catholicism for generations. Security is absolute, as the Vatican announces all mobile phone signals within its territory are cut off from 3:00 p.m. on May 7th until a new pope is chosen. The cardinals are isolated from the world. No news, no messages, no distractions. It is a time for reflection, discernment, and above all, listening for the voice of the Holy Spirit. The mood is both solemn and electric. The cardinals have spent days in general congregations discussing the challenges facing the Church, the need for transparency, the call for renewal, the pain of scandal, the demands of a changing world. Some speak passionately about the need to continue the reforms and openness championed by Francis. Others urge a return to the roots, to the unchanging truths and traditions that have sustained the Church through centuries of turmoil. In these meetings, the names of the leading candidates, Papabili, are spoken with increasing frequency. Pietro Parolin, the Italian Secretary of State, is seen by many as the embodiment of stability and tradition. His calm presence and deep understanding of Vatican diplomacy inspire confidence, especially among those who fear that too much change could fracture the unity of the Church. On the other side stands Luis Antonio Tagle, the charismatic Filipino cardinal, whose openness and compassion have made him a symbol of the Church's future in Asia and beyond. But the choice is not as simple as tradition versus change. Many cardinals are still undecided. My list is changing, and I think it will continue to change in the coming days. It's a process that for me is not yet finished, admits Cardinal Vincent Nichols of England. The atmosphere is one of intense discernment, where every conversation, every speech may sway opinions and shift alliances. As the morning progresses, the cardinals gather in the Grand St. Peter's Basilica for a special Mass pro Eligendo Pontificate for the election of the Pope. The ancient prayers, the soaring music and the incense rising toward the dome remind everyone of the gravity of the moment. The world outside waits in suspense. Thousands of faithful gather in St. Peter's Square, candles in hand, eyes fixed on the chimney that will soon signal the Church's decision. After the Mass, the cardinals process in silence to the Sistine Chapel. The air is thick with history. In the shadow of the Great Dome, the College of Cardinals gathers. These are men of every nation, each bearing the weight of centuries, each carrying the hopes and anxieties of their people. They are called to a task that will shape the destiny of the Church, and in many ways, the world itself. The conclave is about to begin. But this is no ordinary conclave. The world has changed. The Church, too, stands at a crossroads. Above them, Michelangelo's Last Judgment looms a reminder that their task is not just political, but spiritual, a calling to discern the will of God for His Church. The doors are closed and locked. The world is shut out. The conclave begins. Inside, the rituals unfold with solemn precision. The cardinals take an oath of secrecy, swearing to reveal nothing of what transpires. They pray together, invoking the guidance of the Holy Spirit. Each cardinal is given a ballot, and the first vote is cast in silence. The ballots are counted aloud by 3 scrutineers, then burned in a special stove. Black smoke signals no decision. White smoke, the election of a new pope. The first vote is rarely decisive. It is a test of the waters, a chance for the cardinals to see where support lies. In the days that follow, they will vote up to 4 times a day, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, until someone receives the required 2/3 majority. If no one is chosen after 3 days, the process pauses for prayer and reflection before resuming. Outside, the world waits. The faithful pray. The journalists speculate, the curious watch for any sign from the Vatican's windows. The only message that will come is the smoke, black or white hope or disappointment. This conclave is unique in many ways. Never before have so many cardinals from so many nations gathered to choose a pope. For the first time, Europeans are not the majority. Only 53 of the 133 electors hail from Europe, while the rest come from every continent. The average age of the cardinals is younger than in previous conclaves, promising a choice that could shape the Church for decades to come. The legacy of Pope Francis looms large. His decision to elevate cardinals from the peripheries Africa, Asia, Latin America, has changed the very nature of the conclave. The Church is no longer just the faith of Rome, but a global family united in diversity. Many believe that the next pope must be someone who can bridge the old and the new, the center and the margins, tradition and innovation. Yet, as the voting begins, the tension between these visions becomes clear. Some cardinals are drawn to Parolin's steady hand, his deep roots in Vatican tradition, his ability to navigate the complexities of church governance. Others are inspired by Tagle's warmth, his vision of a church that listens and embraces his hope for a more inclusive future. No one knows how long the conclave will last. In 2013, it took 5 ballots to elect Pope Francis. This time, with so many strong candidates and such a diverse college of cardinals, it could take longer. The only certainty is that when the white smoke finally appears, the world will witness a new chapter in the story of Catholicism. As night falls on the Vatican, the cardinals pray in their simple rooms, seeking wisdom and courage. Outside, the faithful keep vigil, their prayers rising with the smoke. The world holds its breath, waiting for the moment when the doors of the Sistine Chapel will open and a new shepherd will step out onto the balcony, ready to lead the Church into the unknown. The conclave has begun. The future of the Church hangs in the balance. Will it be Parolin, the guardian of tradition, or Tagle, the voice of modern Asia? The answer lies in the hearts of 133 men locked away in silence, listening for the whisper of the Holy Spirit. Part 4. The sacred ritual begins, behind the locked doors of the conclave. On the afternoon of May 7, 2025, as the bells of St. Peter's toll once more, a solemn procession winds its way through the Vatican. All 133 cardinal electors, robed in crimson, walk in silence toward the Sistine Chapel. The world outside is hushed, but inside the Vatican, centuries-old rituals are unfolding with unwavering gravity. The doors of the Sistine Chapel close with a resonant finality. From this moment, the cardinals are sealed off from the world. No phones, no internet, no news, no messages in or out. The word conclave itself comes from the Latin cum clave, meaning with a key, symbolizing the absolute isolation and secrecy that now envelops the electors. For the outside world, the only sign of progress is the smoke that will rise from the chapel's chimney, black for indecision, white for a new pope. Inside, the atmosphere is thick with reverence and tension. For decades, it has wrestled with questions of tradition and change, authority and mercy. East and West, now in the sacred silence of the Sistine Chapel, these tensions will come to a head. At the heart of the coming storm are 2 men, Pietro Parolin and Luis Antonio Tagle. Their names are whispered in every corner of the Vatican, debated in seminaries, and discussed in the homes of ordinary Catholics. The cardinals take a sacred oath, swearing before God to keep the proceedings secret, and to vote according to their conscience and the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. Any breach of secrecy means immediate disqualification from the vote. The sense of history is palpable. This is the same ritual that has chosen popes for over 800 years. The first order of business is prayer. The cardinals invoke the Holy Spirit, seeking wisdom and unity. The ritual is both ancient and deeply personal. Each man knows that the decision he makes will affect the lives of 1.4 billion Catholics. The Sistine Chapel, adorned with Michelangelo's Last Judgment, serves as a constant reminder of the gravity of their task. The voting process is meticulous and transparent within the chapel. Each cardinal receives a ballot, inscribed with the words, "Eligo in summum pontificem." "I elect as supreme pontiff," writes the name of his chosen candidate, folds it, and carries it to the altar. 3 scrutineers chosen at random count the votes aloud and record them for all to hear. The ballots are then threaded together and burned in a special stove. If no candidate achieves the required 2/3 majority, at least 89 votes this year, black smoke billows from the chimney. If a new pope is chosen, white smoke will rise, signaling joy to the world. On the first afternoon, only 1 round of voting is held. From the second day onward, up to 4 votes can take place. 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. If after 3 days no one has reached the threshold, the cardinals pause for a day of prayer and reflection, seeking divine guidance before resuming. After multiple cycles, if still no pope is chosen, only the 2 frontrunners from the previous ballot may be voted on, and even then, a 2/3 majority is required. The world outside waits anxiously. Crowds fill St. Peter's Square, eyes fixed on the tiny chimney above the Sistine Chapel. News outlets speculate, but no one truly knows what is unfolding behind the locked doors. The tension is heightened by the knowledge that over 80% of the cardinals voting were appointed by Pope Francis, a fact that could shape the direction of the Church for years to come. Inside alliances are quietly forming. Some cardinals speak passionately for a leader who will continue Francis's legacy of openness and reform. Others, wary of rapid change, look for a steady hand rooted in TR addition. Pietro Parolin, the Vatican's seasoned Secretary of State, emerges as a favorite among those seeking stability and continuity. His reputation as a diplomat and bridge builder, combined with his deep understanding of Vatican operations, makes him a compelling candidate for those who value tradition and order. Supporters see in Parolin the calm, methodical leadership needed in turbulent times. Luis Antonio Tagle, the charismatic Filipino cardinal, is the champion of those who yearn for a more inclusive modern church. His pastoral warmth and global perspective have won him admirers, especially among cardinals from Asia and the developing world. Tagle represents hope for a church that listens to the peripheries and embraces change. But as the ballots are cast and counted, the conclave's true spirit emerges. It is not a political contest, but a sacred search for the will of God. Each cardinal must weigh his conscience, the needs of the Church, and the promptings of the Holy Spirit. The process is slow, deliberate, and filled with prayer. As the first day ends, black smoke rises above the Vatican. No decision yet. The crowds sigh, but hope remains. Inside, the cardinals return to their simple quarters, reflecting on the day's events, praying for guidance and preparing for the votes to come. The world waits breathless. The conclave continues its outcome. Uncertain. Will the Church choose the steady hand of tradition in Parolin or the bold vision of Tagle only? The smoke will tell. Part 5. The Battle of Convictions. Parolin and Tagle emerge. As dawn breaks over the Vatican on the second day of the conclave, a sense of urgency fills the air within the Domus Sancti. Marthi. The cardinals, having spent a night in prayer and contemplation, gather for breakfast in silence, their minds weighed down by the gravity of what lies ahead. Outside St. They are more than just candidates. They are symbols of two visions for the future of the Church. Pietro Parolin, the Cardinal, Secretary of State, is a man shaped by the ancient rhythms of Rome. His presence is calm, almost serene, but beneath the surface lies a mind as sharp as any in the Curia. Parolin is the guardian of tradition, a bridge between the past and the present. Peter's Square is already teeming with pilgrims and journalists, all eyes fixed on the chimney that will soon signal the fate of the Church. Inside the Sistine Chapel, the cardinals file in their faces, solemn, their hearts searching. The rituals resume prayer, the oath of secrecy, the careful distribution of ballots. The atmosphere is both tense and sacred. Every movement, every whispered conversation is charged with meaning. The world may see only smoke, but within these walls, a true battle of convictions is unfolding. By now, the names of Pietro Parolin and Luis Antonio Tagle have risen above the rest. With each round of voting, their support becomes clearer. Parolin's backers, many from Europe, and the Curia argue for the necessity of tradition and stability. They see in him the wisdom of centuries, the calm of Rome, the ability to safeguard the Church's teachings amid the storms of modernity. Parolin is a man who knows the Vatican inside and out, a steady hand, a diplomat, a bridge between the old and the new. His supporters speak in hushed tones about the dangers of moving too quickly, of losing the Church's identity in a rush to adapt. They recall the words of past popes, the unbroken line from Peter to the present, and the sacred duty to preserve what has been handed down. For them, Parolin is not just a candidate. He is the living embodiment of continuity, the guardian of the flame. Across the chapel, the energy around Tagle is unmistakable. His supporters, many from Asia, Africa, and Latin America, are drawn to his warmth, his humility, and his vision for a church that reaches out to the margins. Tagle's voice is gentle but firm, his smile disarming his message one of hope and inclusion. He speaks of a church that listens, that welcomes, that dares to dream of a new future. For Tagle's backers, the time has come for the Church to embrace its global reality. They see in him the promise of renewal, the possibility of healing old wounds and opening new doors. Tagle is the face of a vibrant, growing Catholicism beyond Europe. A leader who can inspire the young, the poor, and the forgotten. Yet as the ballots are cast and counted, the divisions become apparent. The votes are close, but neither man has yet reached the two-thirds majority needed. Some cardinals hesitate, torn between loyalty to tradition and the call for change. Others worry about the risks of either path, the danger of stagnation on one side, the threat of confusion on the other. In the quiet moments between votes, conversations unfold in corners and corridors. Alliances are tested, arguments made, consciences searched. Some cardinals, initially undecided, find themselves drawn to Parolin's steadiness and experience. They remember the crises of recent years, financial scandals, doctrinal confusion, the challenges of a rapidly changing world, and wonder if now is truly the time for bold experimentation. Others are moved by Tagle's sincerity and vision. They recall the words of Pope Francis about a church that goes forth, that is not afraid to get its hands dirty in the service of the poor. They see in Tagle a continuation of that spirit, a chance to make the church more relevant and alive in the 21st century. As the day wears on, the votes continue. Black smoke rises again and again, signaling to the world that the decision is not yet made. The crowds outside grow restless, but within the chapel, the process is patient, deliberate, and filled with prayer. Parolin, for his part, remains calm and focused. He speaks little, but when he does, his words carry weight. He reminds his brothers of the Church's ancient roots, of the need for unity and clarity. He does not campaign, but his presence is reassuring. A rock amid the swirling uncertainties, Tagle, meanwhile, continues to inspire those around him. He listens more than he speaks, offering encouragement and hope. His humility is genuine, his faith deep. He does not seek power for its own sake, but his willingness to serve is unmistakable. As night falls, the cardinals return once more to their rooms. Some are weary, others energized by the debate. All know that tomorrow may bring a decision or another day of waiting. In the darkness, prayers rise like incense, asking for wisdom, courage, and the grace to follow the Spirit's lead. Outside, the world waits. The faithful keep vigil, candles flickering in the Roman night. The journalists speculate, the pundits debate, but no one truly knows what is happening within the sacred walls. He knows the corridors of the Vatican better than anyone, and his hands have signed treaties and concordats that have kept the Church's heart beating through turbulent times. For many, he is the steady hand the Church needs, a man who understands both the beauty and the burden of tradition. Across the world, in the vibrant streets of Manila, another name inspires hope and excitement. Luis Antonio Tagle. Only the cardinals locked together in prayer and discernment can feel the weight of this moment. The battle of convictions continues. Tradition and modernity, Rome and Asia, Parolin and Tagle. These forces swirl together in the heart of the Church. The outcome is uncertain, but one truth remains. The next, hope will shape not only the future of Catholicism, but the very soul of a world searching for hope. The conclave endures. The world holds its breath. And within the Sistine Chapel, the fate of the Church is being written. One prayer, one ballot, one sacred moment at a time. Part 6. The Whisper of the Spirit. Tension and discernment in the Sistine Chapel. The third day of the conclave dawns with a restless energy. The air inside the Vatican is thick with anticipation, and the cardinals, though weary from sleepless nights, and the weight of their responsibility, move with a sense of purpose that only grows sharper with each passing hour. Outside, the crowds in St. Peter's Square have swelled their prayers, rising like a chorus, echoing the hopes and anxieties of the global Church. The world's media, hungry for any sign, fixate on the chimney above the Sistine Chapel, reading meaning into every wisp of smoke. Within the sacred walls, the atmosphere is charged. The rituals have become familiar. The silent procession, the oath, the ballots carefully inscribed and folded, the prayers whispered in a dozen languages. Yet beneath this outward calm, the tension is mounting. The votes are narrowing. The names of Parolin and Tagle dominate every conversation, every silent calculation, every heart. As the ballots are counted, it becomes clear that the conclave is reaching a crossroads. Parolin's numbers are steady, his base among the European and Curial cardinals holding firm. His supporters argue with conviction that the Church, battered by scandal and confusion, needs a shepherd who embodies stability and continuity. They speak of Parolin's deep roots in Vatican tradition, his mastery of diplomacy, and his ability to steer the bark of Peter through stormy seas. In hushed conversations, they recall the words of Pope Benedict and John Paul II, the need for clarity in doctrine and unity in leadership. For them, Parolin is the anchor that will keep the Church grounded. Yet Tagle's star is rising. His coalition of cardinals from Asia, Africa, and Latin America is growing, joined by a number of Europeans and North Americans, inspired by his vision of a more inclusive, outward-looking Church. Tagle's supporters speak of the joy of the gospel of a church that is not afraid to change, to listen, to walk with the poor and the marginalized. They see in him the spirit of Francis, a willingness to embrace the future without fear. In private, some admit to being moved by Tagle's humility and warmth, his ability to connect across cultures and generations. But the conclave is not merely a contest of personalities or policies, it is a spiritual drama, a search for the will of God. In the quiet moments between ballots, the cardinals retreat into prayer. Some kneel before the altar. Others sit in silent contemplation beneath Michelangelo's frescoes. The weight of history presses in on them. Each man knows that the decision he makes will echo across continents and centuries. As the day progresses, the debate intensifies. Some cardinals, torn between the two leading candidates, seek counsel from trusted friends. Others turn inward, wrestling with doubts and hopes. The arguments for Parolin grow sharper. The need for doctrinal clarity, the importance of preserving the Church's identity, the dangers of moving too fast. His supporters point to the chaos that can come from change. Without roots, the risk of losing what makes Catholicism unique. Tagle's advocates counter with passion. They argue that the Church must not become a museum frozen in time, but a living body open to the Spirit's surprises. They speak of the needs of the young, the cries of the poor, the challenge of secularism in the West, and the explosive growth of faith in the global South. For them, Tagle is the bridge to a new era, a pope who can unite East and West tradition and innovation. The votes continue. Black smoke rises again and again, each time met with a collective sigh from the crowds outside. The world grows impatient, but the cardinals refuse to rush. Charismatic, passionate, and deeply connected to the people, Tagle is say, and as the face of a new global Catholicism, his rise has been meteoric, and his message of compassion and inclusion has resonated with millions. Tagle represents the Church's future in Asia, a continent where faith is alive and growing. For his supporters, he is the leader who can open the Church's doors wider than ever before. They know that haste could lead to division, that the unity of the Church is more precious than any individual ambition. In the late afternoon, a new dynamic emerges. Some cardinals who had been holding out for compromise candidates now begin to shift their support. The realization dawns that the choice is between two clear visions for the Church's future. Conversations become more urgent alliances, more fluid. The tension is almost palpable. Parolin, ever composed, spends these moments in quiet reflection. He speaks softly to those who approach him, offering reassurance, never pressing his case. His confidence is not in politics, but in providence. He trusts that the Spirit will guide the process, that the Church will receive the leader it needs. Tagle, for his part, remains humble and prayerful. He does not campaign, does not seek to sway votes with promises or rhetoric. Instead, he listens, encourages, and reminds his brothers of the mission they share. His faith is evident, his hope contagious. As evening falls, the cardinals return to their rooms. The day's ballots burned the outcome, still uncertain. Some are exhausted, others restless. In the silence of their simple quarters, they pray for wisdom, for unity, for the courage to follow where the Spirit leads. Outside, the world waits in the gathering dusk. The crowds in St. Peter's Square do not disperse their vigil. Unbroken, the journalists speculate, the faithful pray, and somewhere in the city, a child lights a candle for the future pope. Within the Sistine Chapel, the whisper of the Spirit grows stronger. The battle of convictions is nearing its end, but the true decision is yet to come. The conclave endures, suspended between tradition and change, between the old world and the new. And as the night deepens, the Church stands on the threshold of a new era, Its fate in the hands of men who listen for the voice of God. In the Silence, Part 7, The Turning Point. Tradition, tested unity demanded. The fourth day of the conclave arrives with a chill in the Roman air. The city seems to hold its breath, as if aware that something momentous is about to unfold behind the Vatican's ancient walls. The cardinals, now visibly wearied by the relentless pace and the burden of their sacred duty, gather once more in the Domus Sanctae Marthae before making their way to the Sistine Chapel. Every step, every glance is heavy with significance. The world's gaze is unblinking. Inside the chapel, the atmosphere is more intense than ever. The rituals are now second nature, but the stakes feel higher with each passing hour. The cardinals, many of whom have not slept well for days, are tested in both body and spirit. The ballots are distributed, the prayers are whispered, and the votes are cast. The names Parolin and Tagle, now etched into every mind, dominate the proceedings. Early in the morning, the first ballot is taken. The results are closer than ever before. Parolin's supporters, seeing the momentum of Tagle's coalition, redouble their efforts. They speak with renewed urgency about the dangers of sudden change, of the need to safeguard the Church's identity and unity. They remind their brothers of the lessons of history, that the Church has survived centuries of turmoil by holding fast to its traditions, by trusting in the wisdom of those who came before. Some cardinals, previously undecided, now lean toward Parolin. They are moved by his quiet strength, his deep roots in the heart of the Church, and his unwavering commitment to unity. For them, Parolin is not simply the candidate of the Curia or of Europe. He is the candidate of continuity, the living link to the faith of the apostles. His experience in diplomacy, his steady hand in times of crisis, and his reverence for the sacred traditions of the Church inspire confidence in those who fear the unknown. Yet Tagle's supporters are undeterred. The Filipino cardinal's message of renewal and outreach continues to resonate, especially among those who see the Church's future in the vibrant communities of Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Tagle's humility and openness, his vision of a Church that listens and learns, have won him friends, even among some European and North American cardinals. But as the cardinals prepare to enter the conclave, the question on everyone's mind is not just who will be the next pope, but what kind of Church will emerge from this moment. They argue that the world is changing, and the Church must change with it, not by abandoning its core, but by opening its doors wider, by embracing the diversity and energy of its global flock. The debate grows more passionate. Some cardinals speak of the wounds that have scarred the Church in recent decades: abuse scandals, loss of trust, declining numbers in the West, and argue that only a return to the heart of Catholic tradition can heal these wounds. Others insist that healing will come only through honesty, humility, and a willingness to meet people where they are, as Tagle has done throughout his ministry. As the morning progresses, a sense of urgency fills the chapel. The votes are tallied. Still, neither candidate has reached the two-thirds majority required. The cardinals break for lunch, but the conversations continue in hushed tones over simple meals. Alliances are tested, friendships strained, but the sense of shared mission never wavers. Each cardinal knows that the unity of the Church is at stake. In the afternoon, another round of voting. The tension is now palpable. Some cardinals, feeling the weight of indecision, pray more fervently than ever. The words of the ancient hymn, Veni Creator Spiritus, "Come, Creator, Spirit," echo in their hearts. They know that the Church has faced moments of crisis before, that the Spirit has always guided her through the storm. As the ballots are counted, a subtle shift occurs. A handful of votes move toward Parolin. Perhaps it is his steadfastness, his refusal to campaign, his quiet trust in providence that sways them. Perhaps it is the growing realization that in a time of uncertainty the Church needs a shepherd who will not be blown off course by every wind of change. Yet, even as Parolin's numbers rise, Tagle's supporters do not lose hope. They believe that the Spirit may yet surprise them, that the Church's future is not written in stone. They continue to advocate for a pope who will lead with Compass Sion, who will speak to the hopes and fears of a new generation. The afternoon draws to a close. The cardinals, exhausted but resolute, return to their rooms. Outside, the crowds in St. Peter's Square have grown larger, their prayers more urgent. The world waits, sensing that the moment of decision is near. Inside the Vatican, the sense of destiny is overwhelming. The Church stands at a crossroads. The battle between tradition and renewal has reached its climax. But the deeper truth is clear. Whatever the outcome, unity must prevail. The next pope, whether Parolin or Tagle, will inherit a church longing for hope, for healing, for a future rooted in faith and open to the world. Night falls over Rome. The bells are silent, but the prayers of millions rise like incense. In the quiet of their rooms, the cardinals seek the Spirit's guidance one last time. Tomorrow, the world may wake to white smoke, to a new name, to the dawn of a new era. The conclave endures its sacred drama, nearing its end. The fate of the Church, the hopes of the faithful hang in the balance, and in the silence of the Vatican tradition is tested, unity is demanded, and the whisper of the Spirit grows ever louder. Part 8. The final ballot is white smoke and a new dawn. As the conclave enters its decisive phase, the tension inside the Sistine Chapel is almost unbearable. The world outside waits, eyes glued to the Vatican's tiny chimney hearts, pounding with hope and uncertainty. Inside, the 133 cardinal electors, now isolated from all outside contact, prepare for what could be the final rounds of voting to choose the new shepherd for 104 billion Catholics worldwide. The process has been grueling. Over several days, the cardinals have gathered for multiple secret ballots, 2 each morning, 2 each afternoon, except for the first day, which saw only a single vote. Each ballot is cast in silence with the names of Parolin and Tagle dominating the slips of paper. The ballots are counted publicly within the chapelle by 3 scrutineers, then burned in the ancient iron stove. Black smoke signals indecision. White smoke, a new pope. By now, the conclave has reached a point of no return. The votes are narrowing. Some cardinals, after days of prayer, debate, and discernment, have shifted their allegiance. The arguments for tradition and stability, embodied by Cardinal Pietro Parolin, have grown stronger as the conclave wears on. His supporters speak of his deep Vatican experience, his diplomatic skill, and his ability to unite a church facing both internal and external challenges.